Hello friends, my name is host Eric and this video is about David Grusch and the recent alien whistleblower case that's trending somewhat in the news. It was originally published by a publication called The Debrief, which is fairly UFO friendly. But when I first encountered the story, I thought, wow, that's pretty powerful stuff what's being claimed. But as I read it more, I my position on it changed, and in fact, changed so much that it's made me decide it's time to establish a position I have on aliens. I've been withholding judgment. There do seem to be a fair amount of weird things in the sky that are being actually sighted, but here's the takeaway about this whole thing. First of all, when David Grusch, what he's reporting is that he's been told all these things. He has no actual direct experience with any of the evidence. And that these things that he's been told, they've been purposely kept from Congress and their legitimate oversight of the intelligence agencies. That last claim is significant because even if what he's saying isn't true, if there's if the intelligence agency, if that's their narrative and or they think it's true, they need to inform Congress. They can't withhold stuff from Congress like that. But here's the deal. So not only do we have this guy who's just saying he's been told all these things, but he indicated initially, one of the things he said was, at first when someone told me about this, or people told me about this, I thought it was a ruse. But then over time, so many different people informed me of this, I came to believe it. But think about this. He's in his job, or his job that he had was in the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the National Reconnaissance Office. Let's say you are working as a train engineer, and some of your coworkers or your boss or whatever tell you, "Oh, you got to watch out for track number 2 today. We're repairing it." Or you're gonna think that might be a ruse. Like, in which kind of a work environment do coworkers or superiors tell you things, and your initial response to it is they're probably lying or might be lying? Is that how things go in the intelligence agencies? That people who work in the intelligence agency distrust everything their fellow American intelligence agents are saying to them, unless they have been told by lots of different ones? Well, what that conveys is clearly that even David Grusch believes that the CIA or some other intelligence agency runs information campaigns and thought initially that this might be one of them. He became convinced otherwise, but he became convinced otherwise without actually seeing any of the evidence himself. So the thing is, when you read everything he says, there is nothing you can hang your hat on, really. Now, granted, some of evidence that he may have may be classified. He may have given it to a congressional oversight committee and we're not able to see it, or whatever. But his description of his lack of evidence is unequivocal. And how he knows that we have exotic stuff from out of planet is, according to him, isotopic signatures, morphologies, and something else. And the thing is, that's basically just saying we found isotopic signatures consistent of things not of terrestrial origin. Meteors are not of terrestrial origin. If you put iron from a meteor into something, you'll have that isotopic signature. Morphologies, I mean, that's so vague, right? Like a design that he doesn't recognize, therefore it's alien. Anyway, the point is, almost for sure, this will amount to nothing. You know, the story will fizzle out. We won't get shown any actual evidence, and people who want to believe in UFOs will point to it as further evidence that they exist. But in reality, if you have a situation like this where your belief is predicated entirely on the credibility of the witness, then that is not a good reason to believe in anything. Because even if he believes he's telling the truth, he might be an unwitting sap, you know, an information mule. Or he might be somebody who's a fabulist, as this one article I read used that term. You know, somebody who is really caught up in their stories, so much so that they kind of don't get the difference between true and false, you know. Or he could just be making it up, but I don't think so, because he's put himself in too much legal jeopardy if he perjures himself at all. So, because he doesn't have any information, really, apparently, it should be easy for him not to perjure himself. Regardless, that obviously is not the only evidence we have of UFOs. And there are plenty of better pieces of evidence that weird shit is in the sky sometimes. But here's the deal. Here's why we shouldn't believe in aliens. There's multiple reasons. Number one, faster than light travel is impossible. Science fiction writers and such have posited that perhaps via some mystical unknown means, like a Heisenberg uncertainty drive, or wormhole travel, or portals, that some alien race might circumvent this limit, this faster than light limit. You can't circumvent it, because first of all, implicit to the physics of the universe are the dynamics of objects, space, time, and directionality and velocity and stuff like that, you know. It's not possible to instantly teleport someplace. There's no such thing as magical portals. They can transfer you to something. And just because aliens theoretically might have better technology than us, it doesn't mean they can circumvent the laws of physics. Second, in no understandable reality can it be the case that aliens have been visiting Earth for potentially the entirety of human existence on the planet, leave myriad inconclusive pieces of evidence, and not a single conclusive piece of evidence. Now, the explanation for this could be something called high strangeness. High strangeness is just another term for the paranormal, but it adds an additional warrant. It says that whatever the agency behind the paranormality is, they are actively preventing us from pinning it down, getting conclusive evidence, and they're better at doing that than we are at pinning it down and getting conclusive evidence. Well, that's a fine notion if you want to justify why you can never prove anything about your thing you're claiming, right? But the bottom line is there's no conceivable reason why a sophisticated alien race that could somehow travel all the way here would play these kind of silly games, right? Where they show their UFO sometimes, but not enough for you to really get down. Why would aliens come down here and play Sasquatch and only appear in blurry photos at a distance? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. As we understand things, granted, aliens might have a different psychology. That might be how they get their kicks. They get their kicks by making crop circles, mutilating cattle, anally probing people, flying through the sky at defying physics rates, and then disappearing before anybody can get evidence of them. Maybe they're into that. But the thing is, it's very, very, very unlikely. So, if aliens are really super advanced and didn't want to be seen, they wouldn't be seen at all. If aliens are not so advanced that they can avoid being seen, then they'd be seen all the time if they were here. It's possible you could have an alien ship that has some sort of malfunction. That's why we could see it, right? But if alien ships were subject to that kind of malfunction or crashing or whatever, then why hasn't one crashed someplace where everybody can see it crashing? You know? In a definitive way, where the aliens are in the ship going, oh shit, the humans are coming, but our ship's broken, they're gonna get us. Why is it that aliens always crash in some remote location where only the government can access them? You know, it's like if an alien ship crashed in the middle of downtown LA, they wouldn't be able to cover that up, right? So we imagine then a scenario in which either aliens are colluding with governments to hide their existence from the rest of us, or aliens are playing some juvenile game of Sasquatch, and the government is doing its best to put it together, but they can never get any conclusive evidence. Or most likely, there just aren't any aliens. There might be aliens on other planets, but even if they develop space travel, they're never going to get all the way over here. After all, faster than light travel is impossible. Logically impossible. Einstein proved that. His theory of relativity has withstood scrutiny, has passed all of its falsification metrics. It has, all of the predictions that it had made have been shown to be true, accurate, once the capacity to test them was developed, you know. And when something is logically impossible, you don't ever have to worry about whether somebody can get around it. That's the thing with the theory of relativity. Doesn't tell us that faster than light travel is physically impossible. It tells us that it's logically impossible. You can't get around that. Nobody can. Not even God can lift a rock, can make a rock so big he can't lift it. Given the definition of God, that's logically impossible. Nobody can do things that are logically impossible, no matter what. So, it is the case that whatever those flying things in the sky are, they're very unlikely to be UFOs or aliens. And that that the proper position to have on it in the status quo is that aliens are bullshit. I would love to be proved wrong. I would love for an alien craft to crash, you know, on Dara Road near my house. That'd be great. And if it happens, I will say I was totally wrong on this shit. I mean, everything I was saying made perfect sense, but somehow I guess I was wrong. Even if I was wrong, I bet they would have had to get here by a slower than light travel and some sort of suspended animation and take them hundreds of years and or thousands of years, you know. The point is, don't get your hopes up. Aliens are 99.9% chance bullshit. Sasquatches, on the other hand, they're definitely real.